Hey there. So I've had some discussions lately, mostly with folks at like large enterprise organizations, where they say I don't have access to Cursor and Claude Code at my organization yet. I might have access to VS Code and Copilot, but I have a limited token count, limitations on what I can do with it, and so on. And they still want to be able to build and use AI to vibe code out applications and the tools in some development kind of environment, right? This is something everyone needs to be taking advantage of. So Databricks has this dev kit. I think a lot of folks have seen this. Within the dev, we actually have some instructions here on leveraging these within Genie code, which is the Databricks agentic assistant itself. And so there's this instructions here on how you actually would add these skills into Genie code. And what that would look like is if I come here to Genie code, open a new Genie code window, and I come down here to skills, I've added my skills in. So I see I've got a Databricks Python SDK and a Python development kind of skill kit. It's not as slick and clean as maybe using Cursor plus Claude, but it's a big lift between someone who doesn't have access to any of those and what they can then build in the workspace. So what I want to show here is actually how I'm going to go through a little demo on using Genie code with those AI Dev Kit skills and building out a full end-to-end Databricks app that uses Lakebase and integrates Genie code and does all the things you would want to do. And I'll do that pretty much like 95% plus through just language typed in Genie code. So we'll actually end up with something like this. So I've got this little weather station explorer. It's got a bunch of weather stations throughout the US. If I zoom in, I can select a weather station. This is going to load some data from the Delta table, filter it to that station, show me various temperature, precipitation, humidity over the period of the record. And then here I've got an option with Lakebase where I can say, I can leave a comment for this weather station. So I could say a dip happened around April 25th. I could post that comment, so that writes instantly. That's the nice thing about Lakebase Postgres. And then I even have a Genie integration here. We could ask, why was there a dip around April 25th? So you see here it did respond that doesn't have enough information about the cause of the dip. So we'd probably want to sort of, tune this a bit, maybe even have the Genie space work a bit better over it. But yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so the way I'm going to start this build is the same as I would start in like Cursor and Claude. I'm going to have a empty GitHub repository. So here I've created a Git folder. We're just going to call it Genie Code App Build. This is linked up to my repository. And then we're going to open our Genie code on the side. Again, I'm not going to go through how to add the skills into the Genie code here. But if you come to the AI Dev Kit site, there's a section, Genie Code Skills. You can follow the instructions there. So I'm just going to start with some really some simple asks for it. And I'm going to say, I want a simple Node JS, so Node JavaScript app that says, hello. Build this in my Genie code app build folder, deploy this as a Databricks app. Okay, great. So it's gone through, it's created my files for my little lightweight Node.js app in my folder, my Git folder, and then it's actually deployed the application. So if I come over here to compute apps, I can see Genie code app build. And then if I open this, it's just a super simple hello from Databricks app. So exactly what we asked it to build. So the next thing we want to do is we're going to tell it, I actually want to make the app more complex. I want to display, let's say I want to display weather stations on a map and be able to click on a weather station and show basic climate summary data as text and graphs. And we will tell it use my existing weather table, and we'll come back once it's done making those edits. Okay, so it's gone ahead and made my app a bit more complex. It's modified my application files in that same Git folder. And then if we come over to our app, so it's redeployed my application pointing to that source code. So if we open the app now, we can see we get this giant map. The map has all the weather stations. It expands out as I zoom in. And if I click on a weather station, this is going to be reading from that Delta table. So I get the weather station ID, kind of a range of dates that it spans, some summary stats, and then a couple of charts around, looks like temperature and precipitation. So obviously I could go back and forth, right, iterate with the Genie code. So the next thing I want to do is I actually want to come in here and I'm interested in what if we want to leave a comment on a weather station. We're going to use Lakebase Postgres for that. So we have like a user transaction layer. And so I'm going to tell Genie code here, next, can you create a new Lakebase, we'll call it Lakebase instance, named Genie app instance, and create a table to store user comments. So we'll go ahead and let that do its thing, and we'll come back when it's done. Okay, so it's gone through and set up our Lakebase instance, our Postgres database, and made those app changes. So if we come over here to Lakebase, I can see I've got a new auto-scaling Lakebase instance called Genie app instance. I can open that up. If I go under tables, I can see I have a new table called station comments. So it's redeployed my app with those code changes. So now I can open the app. And so I get the same map as before. I can click on a station. I get the same kind of data as before, but now if I scroll down, I've got this new comment section. So I could say something like my name, and looks like this temperature sensor is off. And I'll post that comment. So now if I go into my Lakebase instance, you can see how fast that wrote. And if I refresh this, now we can see that it was written here. Looks like this temperature sensor is off for USWI52 is the station ID, which is that station ID. Is we're going to ask it to add create a Genie space over this data so that we can ask open-ended questions about the weather data. So I'll say create a Genie space over my weather data, the same table in the app. Add a chat to my app where I can ask questions over the new Genie space. And we'll come back in a few minutes. Okay, so it's now finished creating my new Genie space and incorporating that as a chat into my app. So if I come over to Genie Spaces, I've actually got this new Genie Space US Weather Station Explorer it created on top of the table that is used in the application. Pretty basic Genie Space. We could go and ask it to make it more advanced. If I go into my app now and I'll refresh. Now if we zoom in on a station, we can still see all of the underlying data. We can post a comment to Lakebase, but now we've got this little chat in the bottom right, and now we can ask a question like, what was the hottest temp in the record? And what happens is if we come over here, we can see what was the hottest temp in the record has been sent to this Genie space by our application. And now we get 38.44, and I know that's correct based off of what I've worked on this before. Okay, so that's kind of all I wanted to show. I mean, we could keep going through Genie code here now with the AI Dev Kit skills attached, right? And so pretty much I did not write a single line of code in this demo, even in the periods where I paused between. Genie code wrote and corrected everything. Sometimes I had to sort of ask it, can you update this or correct this? The only thing that I did manually do is, just for full transparency, is on the application under edit configure resources. Here I did have to go and define, it missed some of the resources. So for example, I'm giving my app can run permission on my Genie space. I gave my app can connect on the database instance, the Lakebase instance. Beyond that, I didn't have to do anything with the Postgres roles, for example, or any other permissions management. It managed all of that. So I think this is really powerful. Genie code really can do all of it now.